Well, let's go to the UK, where Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and Labour leader Keir Starmer have gone head-to-head in a televised debate. Now, a snap poll after the debate indicated most people thought that Keir Starmer had performed better, but the questions asked by the audience during the debate showed voters are frustrated by both leaders.
I feel like you've formed into more of a politician than the person that I would have voted for to run the country. You seem more like a political robot. How are you going to convince others like me to vote for you?
Well, did he convince you, yes or no?
I hope you don't answer the questions, how you answer the questions, and I hope you never answered them the way that you did when you were a solicitor, because you don't seem to answer the questions.
I say that you're coming from an NHS background and you have this instilled value of caring for the NHS. How are we going to do that if you try and undermine it at every level?
Building another building that's going to move it from the hospital is not going to cure the problem. It's just going to make it worse.
Joining me now is GB host Patrick Christys. Patrick, thanks for joining me. What do you think of the debate and what do you think of the response from people? They don't seem particularly fond of either option.
No, these two guys are about as popular as a fart in a lift. It is terrible to see. They are barely human, as you saw there from the "Are you or are you not a robot?" followed by a very robotic answer. We are being asked to choose between two people who lie every single time their lips move. Keir Starmer, the Labour leader, wanted to abolish the monarchy, campaigned to keep foreign criminals in Britain, wanted to bring back an Islamic State bride, has historically backed somebody who wanted to do away with our nuclear deterrent, and wants to tax everybody until the pipsqueak. Now he's saying he's just changed on all of that stuff. You can trust him, and it's all about wealth. Well, how does that marry up with socialism? And then you've got Rishi Sunak, who's got a pretty awful track record. Nobody voted for him. Not even Conservative Party members voted for him. He was anointed like the Pope and thrust onto us into Downing Street, where he's been clinging on ever since, until he goes and counts his millions in California somewhere. He says he can trust him on his track record of immigration, despite record levels of immigration. And he said that flights to Rwanda are going to go off for illegal migrants, but he scheduled those flights after the election, which he'll lose. So they won't happen. Honestly, if only there was a proper Conservative waiting in the wings.
Patrick, I'm not even British and you've just completely depressed me at the state of things. Tell me, for the British public, what are they most concerned about in this election? Like, what are the key issues that people are really stirred up about?
Yeah, well, the fact is that our public services are absolutely on their knees. So we've got record NHS waiting times of 7.5 million. People's bills have been going up with inflation, etc. Also, though, the big one is mass immigration. People are not able to get a hold of it. When people voted for Brexit, they voted to take back control of our borders. And what our political class decided to do was to massively cut down on European immigration, where it could be argued we have a lot more culturally in common with people, and instead open the floodgates to people from places like, Pakistan, parts of Africa, India, which in itself, if that's high skilled, is obviously no bad thing. The issue is, it's not really been high skilled. And the other problem is we've just opened the door to a load of people illegally anyway, and we can't deport them. So there are massive problems there. But that's kind of where Nigel Farage comes in, to be honest with you. And he's obviously been hitting the campaign trail there and doing quite well in the polls, although he keeps being attacked while he's out and about.
Well, exactly. Last time I spoke to you, he'd been attacked with a milkshake, and he's been attacked again since then. Now, this time by someone throwing what was reported as wet cement. Now, I think police quickly arrested the perpetrator, but have a listen to Farage's response.
I'm not a softie. You can say what you blooming like to me. But if you start chucking cement at me or chucking stones at me, it's very, very different. And this is a willful attempt, second time in a week, in a way, it's a willful attempt to stop me taking part in this general election. And that is just plain wrong.
So, Patrick, is this happening to politicians broadly, or is this just happening to Nigel Farage? And if so, why?
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly happening to Nigel Farage. Last week, milkshake, this week, wet cement. Can I just play a little bit of bingo with you now? Because there were some familiar faces in this crowd of people where that wet cement came from. Someone wearing a Not My King anti-monarchist shirt. there was BLM posters, there was Antifa, there was refugees welcome, and a trade unionist who is the one who threw that cement. So it had it all, that crowd of people, that motley crew of rabid lefties. But every time someone attacks Nigel Farage, he goes up in the polls. So actually, if they want Nigel Farage to be Prime Minister one day, and I'm not recommending this, clearly, they should, keep lobbing things at him. But the other aspect of this is that MPs in general have been given additional security. That was mostly to do with the pro-Palestine threats that they were getting. But, you've got to look at this in the round, haven't you? Where is all this coming from? Okay, the far right is bad, but are these threats coming from the far right? No. Are these threats coming from, patriotic, Union Jack-wearing Brit? No, it's coming from the hashtag be kind lefties, and they are actually a real cancer in Britain at the moment.